It's Jason with Kentucky Sustainable Living. Tonight we've got Andy from Andy's Little Homestead with us to talk about what he's got going on, talk about his festival. I've got Shelly with Two Old Crows Homestead here and Jake with Dog Creek Farms. Andy, you're the star of the show tonight. So kind of introduce yourself to people that don't know who you are, and kind of tell everybody how you got started with the homesteading and what you got going on up in Michigan.
Okay, well, first off, thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to this event. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. For anybody who doesn't know who I am, my name's Andy. I don't have a last name. It's kind of like Madonna or Cher, but without the makeup and a better mustache. Let's be honest. But so I I started homesteading in northern Michigan about 3 years ago. Basically, as a result of homelessness, I kind of landed there. I lived in a camper and didn't have power or water for a while, and kind of worked on building things up, and then I one day I got bored and started making videos, basically just for friends and family back home, and I never really believed it would turn into anything. And as it stands now, I got a little over 700,000 followers on my Facebook page, and I just make videos of what I'm doing. From starting in the camper, we're now at a point where we've got a 20-acre piece of property that we're building a house on, and I've got a I would call it a commercial level sawmill that I run. And everything that I run is older than dirt. My newest piece of equipment is my backhoe, which was built in 1976. Everything I've done has been on a shoestring budget, and that's why when Jason approached me about doing this, I figured that my subject should be homesteading on a budget, because there's a lot of people out there who want to do it but don't feel like it's necessarily attainable, and they and a lot of people who think they need to spend more money than they do. So my goal is to show that that's not really the case. This is something that's attainable for anybody. So I'm excited to be here.
Oh yeah, and there's something to be said about the old equipment and everything else. It's stuff you can actually work on. Is what I like. You don't have to have a laptop to figure out what's wrong with the stupid thing.
Yeah, no, you don't. There's no calling a dealer rep to clear a code, and the tractor putting itself into limp mode because whatever. I mean, hell, my daily kind of running around tractor is a 51 John Deere B, and if you press the button with it in gear, it'll roll you right over. It don't even care.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and most of it you can fix with a set of Craftsman wrenches, can't you?
Oh yeah, no. There's a million benefits to running old equipment aside from the initial purchase price. The reality is everything breaks. Everything is going to break. If you are using it for work, it's going to go south. And one of the things that I really want to touch on is when you add up the total of the equipment that I've acquired over the years. I've got 2 tractors. One of them is a 63 horse farm all with a loader. I've got a backhoe, a little bulldozer, and a sawmill. I've spent less than $40,000 on all of that over the last 3 years. You can't buy a new half-ton truck for that. You can't buy a skid steer for it. And it's all doable, and every one of them has broken in some way at some point, but it's all fixable. And the beautiful thing is that we live in a time where every piece of information that's ever existed is available right here on your phone.
Yeah.
It's there. Just you can learn it.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about your sawmill. So my great grandpa and my grandpa, and then when I was growing up, we had a wood miser, switched to a band mill. But I know those old circle mills, like I can remember I seen them in pictures with my grandpa and great grandpa. So how did you get into that? And did you figure it all out online? Because obviously there's not a ton of information out there. I wouldn't think.
Okay, so the decision to go with a circular mill was purely financial. I wanted to get a sawmill around the same time in 2020 that everybody wanted to get a sawmill. When lumber went through the roof, people were trying to find alternatives. And at that time, the big manufacturers, Wood-Mizer, Woodland Mills, Hudson, all them, they were like a year out, just lead time to get one. Nothing was coming up used, and I found this one on Facebook Marketplace, and I was like, yeah, that's sawmill right there, and that's all I knew. It was like a 471 Detroit power unit and a 52-inch blade and 55 feet of track, and that was the information. I'm like, yeah, we can figure this out. Like, it's cool, it's only killed a few people, so it should be fine. And I bought it without knowing how I was going to move it, or how I was going to set it up, or how I was going to run it, but the numbers made sense. It was like, for me to reach the production level that saw can do with a modern band mill, I'd be spending $40,000 or $50,000. So it just it made sense. So I was like, everything else is available. I can figure it out. And you're right. As it turns out, not a whole lot out there about them. I was fortunate enough to find a 100 and something page paper, a book online that was written sometime in like the 70s about setup and adjustment of an old circular mill. Some of the more detailed stuff. I didn't know when I got it that blade is a super precision like piece of metal. It is not just.
That was going to be my next question, because is it hard to find people to sharpen it? I mean, I know that
Oh,
was an art.
No, the only thing that I can't do myself is tensioning it. So that blade not being just a simple flat piece of steel, it is flat, but they hammer it out so that it has tension in certain points, so that as it rotates, it expands actually a certain amount, and so that it's in the right spot when it's expanding at the 550 or 600 RPMs that it runs at. But as far as sharpening it, I mean, it's the teeth are it's an inserted tooth blade. Those are still very available. You can order them. They're called bits, and the shanks, which hold them in place, little half moon shape. Both of those you can order them. They're still out there, because the larger circular rigs still exist in some other larger commercial operations. So, and there's still a couple guys out there who will hammer them out. If you tweak it, get the blade too hot, do something stupid like that, like I have done.
That's what I wondered. My grandpa tried to get me to go to school to learn to hammer those blades when I was a kid. So I didn't know what it actually entailed. I thought it was the sharpening, but it's okay. I gotcha.
I've looked into it, and it requires some specialized equipment. It's something that I would love to learn. I would absolutely love to learn it. And if anybody wants to learn a highly specialized trade that you will be able to set your own price on, I don't think anybody under 50 is doing it. Like it is something that is probably going to be less and less available as time goes on. But it's still out there. And like I said, that machine can run. I mean, I can manufacture a couple $1,000s worth of lumber in a day. Just me and one guy.
Yeah, I've watched your videos running it. It's kind of crazy, because I only grew up around the band mill. Like, my grandpa worked for a sawmill that had a circle mill, but it was totally automated, huge machine. Yeah. But on the small band mills, they cut great. But yeah, watching how fast you cut compared to like cutting on a band mill, I mean,
yeah, it's just
night and day.
I like the circular mill, and the stuff behind me, the wood, they cut it on a circle mill. And there's a boy, he's an older guy right down the road, 25 minutes away, that he still operates it and runs that thing all the time. And I dropped these logs off, and he cut them and called me in a couple of days. He's like, all your stuff's ready.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that's cool. Now, are you running stuff commercial for people and selling it?
Right now, I'm kind of dipping my feet into it. So obviously, I've got friends in the area and stuff who need different things done. And so whenever that comes up, I am. the biggest problem is like for me, I'm in a weird spot because the making the videos that I do takes a lot. It takes a lot of time behind the scenes. It takes whatever project I'm working on and doubles the amount of time that it takes.
At least.
Yeah. And then when I'm done, I got to sit there on the computer completely exhausted, splicing clips together and having it make sense. So it's as soon as I make the push to go like full blown commercial into it, I don't know how much it's going to be left in the way of videos, because I know that the demand exists, and I know that I'll be able to sell it. But when I get to that point, where I'm advertising, it's going to be tough to do anything else.
Oh yeah.
And you were talking about a kiln the other day on one of your videos. We took an insulated semi trailer actually.
Mm-hmm.
So it was already pre-insulated, and we put railroad track. They weren't railroad tracks, but it was that style of a track. Then we built lumber carts, and we would just roll the lumber cart in that insulated trailer and had a.
That's freaking cool. I love that idea.
Yeah,
I've been trying to work out in my head.
Back then, the insulated trailers were cheap. I don't know that they are. Anything's cheap anymore. But
well, even if it wasn't that, even if it was just a shipping container, because that's the one thing. Man, I'm glad I'm talking to you right now, because that's the one thing that I was trying to figure out. Like, what's the most effective way to stack lumber inside of a kiln without having to move it by hand?
Yeah, we would put them on carts, and then we had the tracks running outside, so you could pull the cart out with your tractor for you, and then pick it back up. I actually couldn't wait to talk to you tonight because I've watched your lumber videos, and I have a getting ready to turn 16-year-old son, and that's like one of the things I'm trying to get him interested in, because obviously I am. So
that's cool, man. Well, hey, shoot me a message when we're done with this, and if you find a way to get up to northern Michigan, I'll show you the whole thing.
Yeah, I will. That'll be awesome. But yeah, that trailer worked out awesome. We actually, and that's how they did it. My grandpa was a commercial logger, and we started the Wood-Mizer business, just as a side business when I was in high school. And I actually sold lumber on eBay for him for like 5 or 6 years. We would take the little 2-foot pieces of cherry lumber, that would basically at a sawmill would be scrap.
Mm-hmm.
We would sell that stuff, dried lumber, to people doing crafts all over the place. It was great.
The value is such a weird thing, because there's like, it depends on who it's being marketed to and how it's being marketed. One of the other things that I really liked about getting the circular mill was what I call the white woman factor. It's something about the aesthetic of the old swirl marks that go in it. There's not a lot of people doing it, and it's something that's there that can appeal to certain groups that are willing to pay more money. They're putting up. To me, it's no difference. The amount of work from running some rough cut 1x8s of pine to running like red oak or cherry or something that's generally worth more. The work is the same. So the marketing is really the only thing that makes the difference. And the thing is that since 2020, there's a lot of freaking mills around, like in rural areas, especially rural wooded areas. I am not the only person who had that idea. Yeah. And so you kind of, on some level, you got to go off the market price. But if you have something that's different, if you have something that other people don't have, and you can sell it, just like you're talking about, little cherry sticks, that go on eBay for crafting purposes, what you do the math, you end up at like a $20 a board foot price for cherry that goes for $3 a board foot. Otherwise, it's the
lumber market's crazy. I mean, it's literally worth anywhere between nothing and $20 a board foot.
Basswood's a perfect example. When I cut it, it's a utility grade lumber. It's like pine, it kind of works the same. But if you cut it into perfect little 8x8 blocks about this long and sell them to guys who are carving decoys, it just got worth a lot more money.
Yeah, I wondered if that's where you were going, because I knew the carving for basswood was a big.
Yeah, they love it, and that's great. It's whatever someone's willing to pay for it. I don't know, man. I never. I'm really not like. I'm not interested in like making it rich with it or building some giant internet business though. I in fact, the reason that I got the mill and kind of the long term thinking is that eventually people are going to stop paying attention to what I have to say, and I don't want to get a real job. So I I got to have something that I can do, and any time that even running pine, I can make $1,000 worth of pine in a day. So that just makes sense. But I still, I would prefer to keep my operation, you know, smaller, local, whatever,
Well,
but
it'll take a lot of the fun out of it too if you go full blown commercial.
yeah, yeah. It's right now. We've got so much that we've got to build, and finish it at our property. I've got plenty to keep me busy for a while. So as it stands, friends ask me, "Hey man, can you do this? I need decking for this trailer. I need this." Yeah, I'll work it right in. But you know, to be able to just put it, because as soon as I put it out there, like, "Hey, I'm accepting commercial sawmill contracts," like, okay, well, that's the next year's worth of work, and I won't be doing anything else, and I won't be filming. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and it is. It literally takes me, and everybody else will attest to it. It takes 2 or 3 times longer to do something if you're going to film it.
yeah,
So that, and then I don't sit behind a computer and edit anything. I just put the raw stuff up, and I'm like, this is what you get. So
yeah.
I hate editing it. Shelly edits stuff real nice though. I noticed, Shelly, you edited out a lot of the cuss words when we were unloading that cardboard
I
too.
did. I don't really want your F bombs on my channel.
That's why I turn all my F bombs into chicken noises.
Yeah.
There you go. That totally works. So,
Hey,
Andy, give us a taste of like some things that you're going to tell us about
So,
homesteading on a budget. Give us some ideas about what you're going to talk about.
okay, so for one, I got to start out by saying I'm nervous, which is weird because I do a lot of talking, but never in front of a whole bunch of people. It is in front of a whole bunch of people, but I can edit stuff out. So, it's a little weird for me, and I'm not really the type to speak from a transcript, so I can't really type it all out. But I've got some ideas, basically the direction that I'm going to take it, and just talk about all the areas of homesteading that can be done on a budget with like a regular salary. Um, and that comes with acquiring the right piece of land in the right area, tips for things like that. I'm going to break down the hard numbers on the equipment that I'm running and make a comparison of that to like a newer or modern piece of equipment. I'm going to talk about how I do not believe in financing a piece of equipment like at all. They're well, yeah, basically not at all. I see a better way, and just how much money you lose when you're getting starting with a new piece of equipment, and just in depreciation. So I was going to go through the numbers on that. I'm going to talk about some of the things that have and have not worked as it relates to the agriculture side of things. That's a business with a margin that is as slim as can be. If you one of the examples that I'd like to make is that chickens are one of the most efficient producers of protein in existence, and they're
Yep.
so low maintenance. I love my chickens. Um, I hate the goats. I really do.
I don't want goats.
I hate goats too.
Yeah, my wife likes them. So
Get some sheep.
But even then, even with something like that, if you were to go with, entirely with commercial feed, you were to buy everything that exists that Tractor Supply will sell you as it relates to raising chickens, guess what? You're going to lose money. You could just the same take something that's supposed to save you money and give you, free food, essentially free food, and you could still lose on it just by making the wrong decisions along the way. So I was going to include stuff like that, and then I don't know, I might get inspirational or something. I ain't figured it out yet. It really depends on where things go.
You know, some of my experience with homesteading has been, I mean, and to be successful is that you don't give up.
Absolutely.
You know, you just don't accept you have failures and you learn from those failures, and you just like it's just not an option to give up. And I think if you do that, I think you're successful.
Yep.
I mean, you know, if something doesn't grow, try it in a different place, try it in a different way, do something, you know, whatever, put it in the same place and maybe it'll grow next year. Maybe you won't have squash bugs or whatever. There's so many variables that go into homesteading. And if you just have the mentality that you're not going to give up. And then I think another thing is to be resourceful.
Oh, yeah.
So those are key when you're homesteading, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that was one of the things I was going to kind of touch on was the fact that whenever you're looking for a tool or a piece of equipment or a barn or whatever it is that you think that you need, to maybe lose the mindset of I need a tractor and kind of shift that over to I need to solve this problem. So identifying whatever that problem is, you know, I need to move round bales around. I need to do this, you know, but the goal is to solve the problem. It's not to have the thing that you think you need. Like I mentioned a skid steer. So many people have, anytime I have an equipment video, I got people on there like, Andy, you need a skid steer. And I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. I ain't got skid steer money. But the fact is I don't need a skid steer. I need to load logs.
Yeah.
I need to do this. I need to do that. It's not about the thing that I have. And even further from there, you know, if you make the decision to invest in a more expensive piece of equipment, that prevents you from having backups. So everything that I run, I've got one thing that is made to do, and I got a backup that maybe isn't as good, but will still get the job done. You know, if I recently fabricated a set of modified a set of forks to fit onto my my farm all with the loader. If that goes down, I can still hang log tongs off the bucket of the backhoe and load logs. It's not as good, it's not as fast, but I can keep things moving forward. Now, between those two pieces of equipment, I spent $6,500 on the backhoe and a trailer of red oak on the tractor. And if I had spent that same money on one piece of equipment and that one piece of equipment goes down, well, then I got real problems.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to kind of balance that out. Because stuff's going to go wrong. I don't care. I mean, new equipment breaks all the freaking time. Don't believe it. Ask anybody who owns a land clearing excavation business or anything like that. It's going to break. So you might as well have yourself insulated. You're going to spend the money anyway. Might as well spend less and be able to keep things moving forward.
So did you have a background in, I know you work on tons of equipment, and I mean, I've heard you talk, I know you came from construction, so you didn't have any background in it?
Not in mechanical stuff other than what can be expected for your standard teenager growing up in North Carolina. I ran crappy old trucks because that's what I could afford, and they would break and I would fix them. But I have no formal training in that regard at all. When I was in the Coast Guard, I was a bosun mate, so my job was rigging and stuff on deck. I didn't deal with anything mechanical as far as it breaking, but that just goes back to what I was saying. You know, every piece of information that's ever existed, it's sitting in your pocket. You know, figure it out. It's there. It's and a lot of that is mentality. You know, like Shelly was talking about with the attitude of not giving up. It's just the same to have the attitude of somebody knows how to do this. And not only do they know how, but they took the time to break it down Barney style for you, so you can know how to do it too. So just having the confidence and the willingness to take a shot at it, that's about it. You know, a little bit of stubbornness, and you're good to go.
That and also dreaming big on stuff and having big ideas. And Shelly will testify to this. I call her with some crazy ideas. I'm like, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. And I know when we're talking on the phone, she's shaking her head going, God, I don't know what he's thinking. So don't you, Shelly?
Well, today we were talking about the festival, and he called me, or I called him, but he said he was telling me a number of more people that signed up for our newsletter. And we're kind of using that as a gauge to figure out, you know, how many people are going to be there since we're not selling tickets. And you kind of figure that there's probably one person in a family that's going to sign up for the newsletter. And so we may be looking at like 500 to 600 people being at our festival. And this is our first one. And that kind of blows my mind a little bit. And Jason has said from the get-go, he's like, we're going to have 1,000 people. And so today, of course, he was like, I think we're going to get 1,000 people. And I said, Jason, you'll be known as the man who speaks things into existence. I'm like, oh my God.
Make it happen.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you think about it too, Andy, how many things do you go to that people are like, sign up for our email thing, and you're like, I don't want to because they're just going to spam me?
Dude, I have no idea. I have no idea about organizing an event. I don't.
Yeah, and I mean, I guarantee
you don't either.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this guy, the way the whole event got started, Billy from Permapastures, we did a live with me and Shelly, and after it, Billy goes, y'all need to do a festival. And I laughed at Billy. I said, you must be drunk. I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And here, you know, a year and a half later, we're 5 days or something like that to starting this festival. And I'm like, thanks a lot, Billy.
No.
See what you got me into.
Don't tell me that. You're making me nervous, dude. I got to talk. I'm
Don't
fine
worry.
with conversation, but I just got to stand there and talk. I don't know. I might do some crowd work. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, but the thing is, everybody that's going to be there thinks in the same mindset as you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going to go talk to a bunch of bankers and they're going to be like, man, this dude is so freaking crazy. And they're going to get up and leave and be like, this guy's stupid. I'm done. They're going to be in the same mindset and wanting to learn all this. And
it's not like you're trying to convince people to do something. The people are going to be there, and just your topic. I mean, I think it's going to have a huge response because that's the thing. In this economy, we got to do everything on a budget, right? It's crazy. I mean, there's just no extra money for anything. So
it is only getting worse, you know. And I think that's part of the reason that the whole idea of homesteading and preparedness is you know, it's kind of taken off because you know, people aren't stupid. You know, you can see the writing on the wall. You watch over the years as the source of your food gets consolidated into the hands of a few people. The source of your building materials. You watch these things happen, and you don't. No, I'm not. I'm not. I don't want to be a part of that. And it's just the whole idea of it, of building a life that is your own. It's actually kind of funny. I had an interview today with a young lady who's my friend Jay's daughter. She was doing her senior project on homesteading. So I was talking to her on the phone. She had a list of questions for me and stuff. And one of the things that we started talking about was like, what is the definition of homesteading? It's pretty simple, but it's kind of hard to put into words exactly what it is. And I think I got it kind of nailed down. It's it's basically taking back areas of your life that are normally outsourced to other people, whether that's the place you live, the food that you eat, what you produce, and what you do with your time. Because of the way that things are now, you know, the standard is, well, you sell your time to this company or whatever, and then you make a little bit of money off of it, and then most of that money goes in payments to this bank or this financer or whatever. It goes to this utility, it goes to these things, and you take the little bit that's left and you try and scrape by some happiness by buying a boat and getting on the lake 8 times a year. it's not good enough. There's a better way to do it. And that to me is what homesteading is about. It's about taking back those areas of your life and getting in control of them. You can't get in control of them unless your finances are straight. So, yeah, figured it'd be a good topic.
Oh yeah, and then that's a great definition from my perspective on it for homesteading is stop outsourcing as much stuff as you can and do all the stuff that you can on your own. I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm a contractor, so if something breaks in the house, I don't call somebody. It's like, yeah, I'm going to fix it. My wife will call me if something's wrong. Okay, when I get home, we're going to fix it.
Well, so, I gotta stop you right there. You're probably better than me because I was a contractor as well, and when something broke in my house, I ignored it because I don't get paid to work in my own house.
Well, it takes a few. It depends on what it is. Actually, my wife, when I built this house, I wasn't married yet. I was a bachelor, and I built a house, and we got steel columns out front for that we welded up to hold the porch up. And I'm like, I'm going to wrap these. So I told my dad, I was like, hey, I'm going to buy all the materials. You can go up there when it's nice outside, wrap these columns. I'll paint them and all that. In the meantime, he got sick, never did it. And she told me one day, she's like, I'm going to call somebody and have them come wrap these columns. And I'm like, you're not calling another contractor to come do this. I will get to it one of these days. And she finally understood. I had to explain to her how it really hurts your feelings that she was going to call somebody else. And I'm like, I will get to it, but I've yet to get to it so far.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know for a fact that my wife has dealt with that. Actually, it's kind of funny. There was one night because she likes to come up with ideas of things to do in the house. This was years ago when I was back in North Carolina and working. And she often approaches me with ideas, and me being the contractor, I'll poke holes in it. Like, okay, well, we can't do that because that's load bearing, and we can't do this because then we'd have to move all that plumbing over to here or whatever. And she came to me one day. She was like, what if we took this wall out in the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at it now. I was drinking at the time, so that it's bad. And I couldn't figure out a reason not to. And I went to work the next day, and I came home, and the wall was gone. And I'm like, okay, so we're forcing my hand on this. Okay, that's exactly what I needed, but that's beside the point.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I need to do around here that I just haven't got to yet. But if it's minor stuff, the dishwasher's messed up, stuff like that, yeah, we get on it quick. But some of the things, it's like it can wait a little while.
Look, when a man says he's going to do something, there's no need to remind him about it every 6 months. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it drives my wife nuts. Every house we've lived in, so we've flipped a few houses. Like, we live in them, fix them up, and then sell them. And like, the house is never done until we actually get ready to sell it, and then I have to scramble to get the last 15% of the stuff that I didn't do for the last 2 years all done before we list it. And then we get it all done. Just like, that didn't take you that long. You could have done that 2 years ago. Yeah, could have. Probably should have.
Dude, the punch list is always the worst for me because it's like every single item needs a certain different set of tools that I got to pull out. And then I got to change gears and do this little thing. And I got to change gears and do this little thing. And it was always the worst for me, man.
Well, it's not really that much, but you can live with it.
Yeah. But yeah, it gets ignored. I get it.
Oh yeah, I built the worst one about that. I built a awesome outdoor kitchen at the last house. Almost had it done and wound up getting a divorce, and I never got to use this awesome outdoor kitchen. But I rushed to get it done because I had to sell the house. And I'm like, this sucks. I never got to grill or do anything at it. So I was like, okay, somebody else can enjoy this thing.
Oh well, if they paid for it, whatever.
Yeah. So.
Nothing in this life is permanent anyway.
Oh no.
Much.
My wife has given up on the transition strips going from the hardwood to the tile in the bathrooms. She's like, I'm just not even going to ask for those anymore.
My wife just laughed in the background. You probably couldn't hear it, but she did.
Yeah. So there will probably never be any transition strips. I'll put them in if I ever sell this house.
Yeah. So, punch list.
Yeah. And I started a greenhouse. I'm building a greenhouse. I started it the other day.
Mhm.
So, but I will get her greenhouse done for her because she wants to grow. She wants to have an orange tree and have oranges. So I'm like, okay, we'll try it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, what else, Jake? What else do everybody want to talk about?
I mean, I feel like I've already hijacked a lot of time talking about sawmills. So,
Oh,
I could talk about sawmills forever.
well,
It's my favorite thing.
when Jason sent it, I told my wife, I'm like, you don't understand. This guy has a circle mill. Like, there's probably nobody I've ever talked to in my life, because my grandpa's still alive, but he's not, like, he's in a home and he can't. I actually had my farm. I had a person come with a drone because, like, I knew he would never be able to see it, so I hired a drone person to come film it. And that's actually the first video I did on YouTube. And I really only did it, because I wanted him to see the farm.
Mhm.
But we have we probably have about 80 acres of trees.
Mhm.
So it had been timbered. It's not all good yet, but I mean, we're getting there. And I mean, it's such a great investment. And that's what I've told my son. Like, I mean, you could get a mill going and just do it in the summers if you go to college or whatever you decide. I mean, there's just so much, I think, a lot of money to be made there.
Yeah. No, I've been really fortunate. The probably the best thing that I did relating to the mill is just to contact and develop good relationships with a couple local tree services, because there's a void when it relates to oak and maple and cherry. That's a little bit different. Not everybody's willing to let that go. But when somebody's getting rid of pines on their property, even like big, beautiful old white pines, they how's the neighbor enjoy the sound? Well, that's their problem. Because I'm covered under the Michigan Right to Farm Act and its agricultural definitions, which includes trees and tree products as things that I'm allowed to run equipment for, so they can deal with it. Anyway, so with the things like that, like pine, it's of no value to the tree service. They're not going to sell it as firewood because it's not good. They can't sell it to a larger mill because they're only buying pine by the truckload within very specific parameters. So they dump it off somewhere. Someone's got a yard, someone's got this or that or the other, and I'm like, I'll take it.
Yeah. My
And
grandpa was still cutting ties for the, railroad ties. He
Mhm.
was probably still cutting ties till he was almost 70.
That's awesome.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy.
So that as a source, because I mean, I for the most part, I don't have to go anywhere to get lumber. I don't, if I need cherry, I got to cut my own because I haven't had much cherry roll through. But right now, my yard has I finally got it organized for the winter. So I got a stack of red pine, I got a stack of red oak, I got a stack of maple over here, stack of poplar, and a stack of white pine, and it's all just ready to go. I can pick up what I need and send it through, and just keep things moving. The only problem with that is I have hit a lot of nails. Trees that were in people's yards, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of them I did a red oak the other day that was, the tree was 24 inches in diameter. I mean, it's a huge log. And we found a chunk of barbed wire in the middle, like 6 inches. So that barbed wire went into the tree when it was that big, center of the tree, that big. And it was, yeah, that was fun. It makes a loud pop. Blade keeps going, but I gotta usually sharpen the teeth after it's done.
Hey, Bruce, I wasn't calling you out, but ties are pretty heavy when you're, that age.
Dude, the mill, when I bought the mill, the guy I bought it from was a super, super nice older gentleman. He was in his 70s, and he was like, "Yeah, it's getting a little hard to spin these logs with a cant hook these days." And I'm like, "Yeah, I freaking believe it, dude." Like, I hurt now. Okay, I'm 33, and high mileage 33, but still, like, it's, my joints are not happy with me when I wake up in the morning, and if I don't get moving, I am screwed. But this dude's like in his 70s, and He's finally willing to give it up, but I'm glad that he did because I love that piece of machinery. If I
So
could
I
do,
guess one thing we should also ask you about is Michigan. I mean, I know it's beautiful there. I've been up there,
this
and
is cold.
actually, yeah. Well, I have a friend that lived up there, and I said, "Man, I can't believe more people don't live here." And he said, "That's because you've never been here in the winter."
Dude, and that's how it got us too. So before, obviously it's a real long story as to how I got up here, and I've told that story. But my wife and I had talked about moving up here based on the fact that we visited in August. August is lovely. I mean, I'm like crawling out of a swamp in eastern North Carolina where it's 97 degrees and 100% humidity and the air doesn't move. And it's like walking around in soup, and I'm roofing houses. And we come up here for vacation and it's like 78 degrees with a light breeze. It gets down to 67 at night. I got to put a hoodie on, and it's dark at it gets dark at 10 o'clock. I'm like, this is heaven. And it is for a minute.
Yeah.
And then you pay for it. Because I think we got about, I never disclosed my exact location, but we got about 16 feet of snow last year.
Gee whiz.
Jeez.
That's about average. The coldest I've seen it hit on the thermometer was like negative 30. I stopped working outside at negative 10. That's about my line.
I remember one of your posts for wood for sale. You're like, "Yes, you can pick it up at my house. No serial killers, please."
Yeah, that was the red oak that I traded for the
Yeah.
Hummel.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's cool.
that was the best deal ever. If Terry's watching it, I love the tractor, man. But yeah, it was it's different, but I will say this, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I really expected it to be just insanely brutal. You know, when you got highs averaging in, around 10 degrees and lows below zero. I thought it was going to be worse than it was. One of the things that you don't think about much with the cold is the humidity, and it's not humid cold. So even if it is a little windy, I would say, 30 degrees in eastern North Carolina is about what 10 degrees feels like here. So when you get below zero, yeah, it all sucks. It's just terrible. Nothing moves. Every 5 minutes, I'm taking my gloves and wrapping them around the exhaust on the tractor, like just to get some feeling back so I can keep moving. But it is what it is. I think we're all, as a society, we got real used to comfortable temperatures, and humans have existed in places with pretty extreme temperatures for a long time. You just kind of maintain the mentality of, yep, sometimes it's cold. What are you gonna do?
So is that someplace you want to stay, or are you looking to get out?
Oh no, I love it here. It is just, it's an awesome place, and with everything that we've been working on, I couldn't leave, and I wouldn't want to. I mean, it's one of the most beautiful places on the planet, and it's exactly where we need to be. So we'll enjoy our summers that are just as beautiful as you can have, and deal with the winters, and summer will come back.
Wow. Hey, Andy, back on the sawmill, you can cut bigger wood than just a band mill, can't you? Is that one of the big
No.
advantages?
No, band mills can go bigger. I am limited by the radius of the blade. So with 52-inch, excuse me, with a 52-inch blade, that is about, it's obviously 26 inches to the radius, but it's about 24 inches above. You got the arbor in the middle, so above that is what can get cut. So I can go up to about a 30-inch log. Just because I'm not running straight through the middle of it. I'm cutting my cant, and then it's obviously shorter, and once it's to a squared off can. I can have a 24 by 24 squared off can. And honestly, you get way more board footage with the big logs, but at a certain point, it's like, this is too much work. Some of them I got to bring the backhoe in and wrap a chain around the log just to spin it on the carriage. And by that point, I've lost. Honestly, for me, the ideal log, the perfect log, is like 18 inches. Because an 18-inch log, even if it's 16 feet long, whatever, I can still spin it with the cant hooks without too much effort, and I can make a 12 by 12 or a 12 by 14 cant, and I can cut any number of dimensions off of that. So that's my happy place.
Gotcha.
Because some of those band mills get crazy, dude. They're like, 60-inch cuts, and you can't even really find 60-inch trees around here. So
yeah, I know there's those super slabbers now that are the super wide.
mm-hmm.
We ran a wood miser. The same one they still make, L240. That was pre-hydraulics and all that. But how do you usually run it by yourself, or do you have help a lot of times?
I usually have. I can run it by myself. It's most efficient with one helper on the other end.
I was going to say,
I've been working on actually kind of dialing that in. Lumber, kind of like firewood, is one of those things where the more times you have to touch it, the more you lose. So, like we've got the operator station, which is my side of it, and then the lumber goes through, and then or the logs go through, goes to the other side. And right now I've got it to where my helper is chucking the slabs off the back of the mill. Yes, I'm working on that as far as money from the waste material. I'm still in the process of it. And actually, I'm gonna have a video about it soon. But so I have them chuck the slabs off the back of the mill, and then I park a trailer off the end of the mill. So when the boards actually come off, they send them straight off onto the trailer, and then I can move it to wherever it's being stacked. Just kind of trying to dial in that. I've got the hydraulics there, and I have considered trying to automate the other side of it, but it's going to take quite a bit of fabrication, and honestly, it is not the safest thing in the world to run that mill by yourself, especially in a spot where you don't have cell service. It's a really good way to die quickly. And
do you have a tourniquet?
Well, I got a shirt most days, so it's fine. We'll figure it out.
Chuck will have to hook you up with a tourniquet.
Yeah.
You need to get a whole med kit and have it sitting there on the sawmill.
You're not wrong, and you're also not the first person to mention that.
Yeah. Chuck, you'll meet Chuck Peoples with a Homestead Medical. He will set you up with everything you need for it. So
cool.
We all took his class, but he even taught my son. My son can apply a tourniquet and everything now.
Yep.
From meeting with Chuck.
I've been trained on it, but I don't have one.
Well.
I know the circle mill, I love the look of the wood, but a band mill doesn't scare me at all. Where a circle mill, I still have a fear.
It's understandable.
What's that huge chunk of spinning metal? It's like a Saw movie.
I did the math. That blade I did the math on like the circumference of the blade versus times RPMs and everything. The tip of that blade is going at 88 miles an hour.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
If you saw it, Shelly, you would think, how can you let people use this thing?
Because there's only so many things that can fail.
See, there it is. Chuck's here. He said he'd fix it for you.
Good deal. Thanks, Chuck. But
I love the look of the wood, but
it's so it intimidated the crap out of me the first 100 logs, and I used some dinky little red pine that was like not that scary. And after a while, one of the things that is funny about it that like it cannot be taught is what it sounds like. Like I can hear as the blade goes through, and I can tell, am I feeding the log too fast? Am I feeding the log too slow? Am I starting to wrench is the blade starting to walk one direction? And I can hear it. Then I know what's happening. So I know when I need to back out. I've had some that I've maybe the the blade was dull or had worn unevenly from hitting a nail or something, and the blade starts walking into the log, and it's got this loud squeal, and I just like send it through, and I get done, and the whole blade is just waving like this. That I had to change my underwear after that. Like that was not.
Well, I'm definitely going to reach out. I'm in Indiana, so I'm not far from you at all. And
Yeah, man.
I think one thing, it's one thing to watch videos. I mean, you can sit in your house and watch videos of it all day long, but to actually see it in person would probably make you feel a little better.
It doesn't do it justice. Like when I put the videos together, I try and I get cool camera angles, like, you know, hooking the camera up on the carriage so it's going right by the blade, you know, stuff like that. But it's just pixels in a blur. It doesn't do it justice for what's happening. I mean, a freaking monster 2-stroke diesel engine that's just screaming so loud.
That's what I mean. I can't imagine that, because like the ones I was around was a high production mill. So I mean, like the operator sat in an enclosed, you know, area. You know, it was like a heated and cooled cab, and he operated. I mean, this was a huge mill in Terre Haute, Indiana, actually.
Yeah.
And my grandpa worked there. He was a log buyer. He bought logs basically, I mean, his whole life, since his dad was in the sawmill business too. And yeah, it's mind blowing to me. But I've been around the band mill, but I would love, I can't wait to check that circle mill out.
Yeah, man. It's not as sketchy as it feels like initially. I mean, the shaft on it that's holding that blade is that big around. You know, the freaking arbor nut is like that big. It's got a massive collar on it. Things would have to go really, really bad for something to fail catastrophically. And even then, you're not standing in line with the blade.
I mean, honestly, running the saw or running your chainsaw in the woods is probably
absolutely.
And I mean, I can still remember, like, I started bucking logs when I was, you know, in high school. Like, my grandpa wouldn't let me go into the woods. He would only let me buck the logs after they pulled them out. And I mean, I still remember. What's that?
That's kind of more dangerous.
Yeah,
well, the number of cuts that you have to make, you know, aside from, you know, different things, you get the
widowmakers falling.
Yeah, you get a widowmaker, you get a half-rotted tree that wants to barber chair on you when you're falling them. You know, that's that can be sketchy, but for you know, you're bucking them down and you're swinging that chainsaw around, and half the time you don't hit the brake before you move on to the next cut because you don't care. And it's I don't know. I think it's just as dangerous.
Honestly. Yeah, I loved being in the woods, though. I mean, I still remember the first time I heard the tree fall, like a big tree. Like, I mean, it literally sounds like you're standing next to a freight train.
Yeah, and you feel the ground move. It's freaking awesome.
It's crazy. It's awesome.
So, I don't know, man. I enjoy it. I'm really happy with the mill. I mean, that is, if for whatever reason everybody stopped watching what I'm doing tomorrow and my option was to fire it up and make lumber, I'd be pretty okay with that. It's fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, we're coming up on about an hour. We'll do once around, and Shelly, you want to start off everything?
Sure.
Everybody, I hope everybody that's on here already knows about the festival, and we can just go ahead and remind them. So hopefully there's some new folks, though, that are going to come.
You know, I think I have said the word festival at least a dozen times a day, every day for the last 6 months. I'm pretty sure that is the top of my vocabulary right now.
Y'all are going to have such a good nap when this is over.
For real. Yeah. My boss was asking me this morning, I had a meeting with her, and she goes, "You are taking the day off after this, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yes, I am. I'm not coming back into work today after this. I'm going to sleep all day. I might feed my animals." I don't know. But anyway, so this Friday, the festival is October 28th and 29th. That's this Saturday and Sunday at the Bowling Green Ag Expo Center. That's not even right. It's in Bowling Green, Kentucky at the WKU Ag Expo Center. The doors open at 8 o'clock. There is going to be oh my gosh, so many speakers, so many things to learn about. We've got Chuck Peoples, who's going to be doing a medical class. We've got Tag, who's going to be talking about exiting corporate America. And then we've got Matt Hunley is going to be talking about tree forests. We've got Grumpy Acres going to be talking about food preservation. Emily Rock is going to be there talking about Homestead dairy and what kind of cow to choose. Erin Scott is going to be talking about why we homestead. And then on Sunday, she's going to be doing a Q&A with people. And y'all, if you don't know Erin T. Scott, you need to go follow her on YouTube. I think you'll be blown away by the information that she has.
And Erin said to bring a pen and paper with you.
Yeah, definitely. Greg Brand is going to be talking about pasture management. Bruce DeVries, he's been in the chat tonight. He's is it Homestead Leather? Is that the name of his
Leather Homestead?
Leather Homestead. Bruce makes the most amazing leather goods like purses, belts, aprons, wallets, whatever. They're beautiful. But he's going to be teaching about biochar and the benefits for your garden. And then we've got Jeff Smith, who's going to be talking about how to get home in a collapse situation. Trying to think of a politically correct way to say this. And then he's also going to be talking about
material should happen to hit a certain
circular thing. Yeah, exactly. And then he's also going to be talking about restoring tools, old tools. We've got Andy here. He's going to be talking about homesteading on a budget. We've got Enos Zook. He's the bluegrass trapper. He's going to be talking about trapping. Tina Clark is going to be talking about building community, and her husband, Chris Clark, is going to be talking about how to put in your own solar system. They've got a great setup in Tennessee. So yeah, they've got a lot of good information. Jake Drum is also going to be talking about medical homestead stuff. So come check it out, y'all. The festival is free. On Friday, we will have 2 different paid classes that you can take. One is going to be taught by Chuck Peoples. It's homestead medicine. And then the other one is permaculture guilds. It's going to be taught by Eric Johnson from Porterhouse and Teal. And then also on Friday, there's another paid class that you can do. That's Stop the Bleed class that Chuck Peoples is going to be teaching that. On Saturday, Jason, why don't you tell them about Saturday?
Saturday night, the big thing we got going on Saturday night is the Vets for Child Rescue charity dinner. We've still got some tickets available for that on the website. It's KentuckySustainableLiving.com. Like I said, we've got a few seats left. You're going to get to eat. We're going to have prime rib dinner. And I think we're going to have a potato bar where you can load up your potato with whatever you want. Oh
my God, Grant will be so happy.
Oh, yeah. But the 2 great things, you're going to be donating money to Vets for Child Rescue, which is an awesome organization for what they do. And the other cool thing is you're going to get to eat dinner with the speakers that are going to be there. Most of the speakers will be there, so you'll get to sit there and eat dinner with them, talk to them for a little while, and just have a good time. We've got several auction items that we're going to do a silent auction for to raise some more money, but it's an awesome cause, and that's one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to is that charity dinner, and when we get to cut a check for Vets for Child Rescue.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a good time. So... But Andy, Jake, you got anything?
Nope. Just be sure to go to the website and sign up for the newsletter. Yes. Shelley puts together a great newsletter every week, and it'll give you tons of details about the festival and keep you up to date on any of the future stuff.
If you don't know how to read, are there colorful pictures on them?
Oh, yeah.
There's little emojis.
Oh, perfect. All right, good.
As long as there's emojis, you're good.
Right.
Andy, tell everybody where they can find you at if they want to come check you out.
Well, I'm going to be speaking on Saturday. I think it's 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 2 to 3. I don't know. I'm talking on Saturday in the big building. I don't really know. But I'm gonna be around the whole weekend. So or at least all day Saturday, and then Sunday morning I'll probably stop by before I head back up. So I'll be around. Anybody who wants to say, hey, I'm a pretty normal guy. No serial killers, as always. But I like talking. So
Be sure to check out Andy's channel. It's real life. It's great. I mean, it's funny, but it's also tons of information.
Yep.
Well, thank you. I'm blessed with the opportunity to reach a lot of people with what I do, and I'm thankful for that. And so I reckon I'll keep doing it.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, check you out. You do most everything that you do is on Facebook. You don't have a lot on YouTube.
I don't have a lot on YouTube. If you want to get caught up to like see how I landed here, you're going to want to start at the beginning on Facebook. I had some issues with dealing with music and copyright stuff with YouTube, and then actually just recently got that sorted out. So I'm on both of them. If you want to see, all the new ones are going on both. They're actually going on YouTube first. So if you want to watch or don't, doesn't change my life at all. So.
All right, well, that'll work. Andy, we appreciate it. And we're going to log off, guys. We will see you this coming up weekend at the festival, and we appreciate everybody watching. Y'all all have a good night.
All right. Have a good one.